the promise that bound him. I never thought I would leave. For 7 years, this yard was my world. The concrete porch was my bed, the worn-out rubber ball was my only toy, and the 2 cats inside the house were my reason for existing. I was a large dog, a mix of something golden and something dark, with heavy paws and a heavier heart. My name is Julian. The cold wind bit through my fur tonight. I lay curled on the porch, my nose pressed against the crack beneath the door, trying to catch a whiff of warmth from inside. The house smelled of dry kibble, catnip, and the faint, powdery scent of Chloe's white fur. Chloe was a purebred Persian cat, elegant and icy, with eyes the color of frozen honey. Her daughter, Lily, a mottled tortoiseshell kitten, was her shadow. I could hear them through the glass. Chloe was grooming herself on the top platform of her cat tree, the tall, carpeted one that Master had bought last spring. Lily was chasing a feathered toy below, her tiny paws pattering across the hardwood floor. They were safe. They were warm. That was supposed to be enough for me. But tonight, my stomach burned. It started as a dull ache after I drank from my water bowl this afternoon. Lily had come to me, rubbing her cheek against my foreleg, a rare gesture that made my tail wag with pathetic hope. She had nudged a small, crumpled packet into my bowl. I didn't think. I just lapped up the water, grateful for any sign of acceptance. Now, the poison was working its way through my gut, twisting and cramping. I whimpered, low and guttural. I dragged myself to my feet, my claws scraping the concrete. I pressed my nose against the glass and pushed. Click, click. The door rattled. Inside, Chloe's ear twitched. She opened one eye, saw my dark shape, and immediately turned her back. Her tail flicked once, a dismissive swish. Lily paused her play, looked at me, and then copied her mother, turning away as if I were invisible. I pushed again, harder. A muffled thump. My throat emitted a strained whine. Please. Help. Chloe hissed. It was a sharp, venomous sound that cut through the quiet. She leaped down from her perch, landed silently, and stalked to the glass. Her pupils were slits. She bared her teeth, a silent snarl that said everything. You are not welcome. You are a monster. Go away and die. I collapsed back onto the concrete, my legs giving out. The pain was so intense that my vision blurred. I remembered the last 2 times this happened 2 weeks ago, and a month before that. Each time, Lily had approached me with her innocent eyes, and each time, I had drunk the tainted water because I was starving for love. Each time, Chloe had refused to open the door. Each time, I had crawled to the far corner of the yard and vomited until there was nothing left. Master was away on a business trip. He wouldn't be back until tomorrow. He was the only human who ever showed me kindness anymore, but even he had become distant lately. Chloe had been whispering to him, I knew. I saw the way his brows furrowed when he looked at me, the way he hesitated before filling my bowl. She had painted me as a threat, a brute who frightened her precious kitten. The memory of my brother, Justin, surged through me. Justin was my litter-mate, a purebred German shepherd with a coat of black and tan, ears that stood tall, and a heart made of courage. We were adopted together as puppies by Master, who was young and full of energy back then. Justin was always the leader. He would stand between me and the mailman, between me and the neighbor's aggressive pit bull, between me and anything that frightened me. One afternoon at the park, a massive mastiff broke loose from its owner and charged straight at Master, who was throwing a ball for us. I froze. My legs turned to stone. But Justin, without a heartbeat of hesitation, lunged. He sank his teeth into the mastiff's flank, drawing its fury toward himself. The fight was brutal. Teeth, claws, blood. Justin was strong, but the mastiff was twice his size. When Master finally drove the beast away with a stick, Justin was lying on the grass, his side torn open, his breathing shallow. I ran to him, licking his face, whimpering. He opened his eyes. Even in his agony, his gaze was clear. He turned his head toward Chloe, who was cowering behind a bench with tiny Lily, who was just a month old. Justin's eyes spoke the words he couldn't. Protect them. I can't anymore. He died that night in Master's arms. I howled at the moon, a sound that came from the deepest part of my soul. I had failed my brother. I was a coward who hid behind his bravery. The guilt crushed me. After Justin's death, Master was heartbroken. He clung to Chloe and Lily because they were all that remained of his beloved dog's legacy. I saw my purpose. I would fulfill Justin's last wish. I would guard Chloe and Lily with my life. I would make amends for my cowardice. But Chloe never accepted me. She was a cat, proud and territorial. She saw me as an intruder, a clumsy oaf who smelled of the outside world. When Master gave us food, I let her eat first. When he bought new beds, I took the cold concrete. When he tried to pet me, I slunk away, afraid that his affection would make Chloe jealous. I gave up everything. My place in the house, my warm bed, my share of treats, even my dignity. For 7 years, I lived in a cage of my own making. The bars were made of guilt and a promise I never should have made. The morning after that terrible night, I woke up on the porch, drenched in dew and shivering. The pain in my stomach had subsided to a dull throb. I was weak, my legs unsteady. I dragged myself to my water bowl. It was empty. Of course. Lily had probably knocked it over again. I heard the front door open. Master was home. His footsteps crunched on the gravel path. He came around the corner, saw me lying there, and frowned. "Julian, what's wrong?" His voice was tired, worried. I tried to wag my tail, but it only gave a weak twitch. He knelt beside me, running his hand over my head. His palm was warm. He touched my nose. It was dry and hot. "You're sick again," he muttered. "I'll take you to the vet." He lifted me. He was strong, but I was heavy. He carried me to his metal box, the one that smelled of old coffee and his favorite cologne. I lay in the back seat, my head resting on a towel. Through the window, I saw Chloe and Lily watching from the living room window. Chloe's expression was unreadable. Lily was smiling. That innocent, terrifying smile. At the vet's, they ran tests. They took my blood. They asked Master questions. When they told him that I had ingested a toxic substance, something that could cause liver failure, Master's face went pale. "How?" he asked. "He's never eaten anything outside." The vet shrugged. "Could be something in the yard. Pesticides, maybe. Or someone could have given it to him." Master didn't say anything, but I saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes. He knew. Deep down, he knew that Chloe had been poisoning me, but he couldn't believe it. He loved Chloe. She was Justin's legacy. He couldn't accept that she was capable of cruelty. I was given medicine and sent home. Master filled my bowl with fresh water and gave me a special meal of boiled chicken and rice. He placed it on the porch, not inside. He didn't want to upset Chloe. I ate slowly, savoring each bite. It was the first time I had eaten properly in weeks. That night, I lay on the porch and listened to the sounds inside. Chloe was purring, rubbing against Master's legs. Lily was mewing, playing with her toy. Master was laughing. They were a family. I was the outsider, the unwanted reminder of a tragedy. The next day, the pattern resumed. Lily approached me with a small, white pill. She pushed it toward my bowl with her nose. I stared at her. My instincts screamed at me to refuse. But her eyes were so soft, so pleading. She made a tiny, kittenish sound. She wanted me to trust her. And I was so desperate for any sign of affection that I drank. Within an hour, the cramps returned. I vomited in the flower bed. I dragged myself to the door and scratched, but Chloe's hiss drove me away. I staggered to the far corner of the yard, curled up, and shook. The world spun. I thought I was going to die, but I didn't. I was too stubborn, too tied to my promise. I survived. A week later, Master announced that we were going to the park, the quiet one behind the vet's, where Justin was buried. I knew the day had come. It was the anniversary of his death. We drove there in the metal box. Master sat in the front, Chloe on his lap, Lily on the passenger seat. I was in the back, as always. No one looked at me. No one spoke to me. I watched the scenery blur past trees, fences. Other dogs on leashes, I felt a familiar ache in my chest. At the burial site, Master placed a bouquet of flowers at the base of Justin's headstone. The headstone was flat and gray, engraved with Justin's name and a small paw print. I approached slowly, my tail low, my head bowed. I nuzzled the stone, inhaling the faint, residual scent of my brother. I remembered the day he died, the blood on his fur, the look in his eyes. I whimpered, a sound of pure grief. Chloe and Lily sat a few feet away. Chloe began to wail, a high-pitched, dramatic cry that echoed across the field. She was a performer, always putting on a show for Master. Lily joined in, her small meows mimicking her mother's. Then Chloe turned to me. Her eyes were cold, calculating. She padded over to a patch of sharp, gray gravel at the base of the headstone. She tapped it with her paw, then looked at me. She gestured with her nose to the ground. The message was unmistakable. Kneel. I hesitated. Every muscle in my body tensed. I didn't want to kneel. I had done nothing wrong. But the weight of my guilt, 7 years of it, pressed down on me. I lowered myself onto the gravel. The sharp stones bit into my belly, my knees, my legs. I winced, but I stayed still. Chloe circled me. She began to yowl, a long, guttural rant. She was telling Justin and Master about my sins. How I had stolen her territory. How I had frightened Lily. How I was a traitor. She twisted every act of kindness I had ever shown into a crime. She made me sound like a monster. I couldn't bear it. I lifted my head and let out a soft whine. I protected you, I said, though she couldn't understand. I gave you my food, my bed, my warmth. I stood guard every night. I chased away the strays. I did everything Justin asked of me. Chloe ignored me. She continued her tirade. Lily approached, her eyes bright with malice. Without warning, she raked her claws across my muzzle. The sting was sharp, and I yelped. Blood welled up from the scratches. Lily giggled, a sound that chilled me to the bone. Master was standing nearby, watching. His face was a mask of confusion and hurt. He didn't intervene. He didn't stop them. He just looked at me with that familiar, disappointed gaze. He was believing them. He always believed them. When Chloe finally finished her performance, she strutted back to Lily, licked her head, and sat down. Master picked up the flowers and placed them on Justin's stone. Let's go, he said quietly. He turned and walked back to the car. I stayed there, on the gravel, for a long moment. The pain in my body was nothing compared to the ache in my soul. I looked at Justin's headstone and whispered, I'm sorry, brother. I can't do this anymore. I can't live in their shadows. I can't be the villain in their story. I rose slowly, my legs trembling. I limped after Master, stepping onto the grass, leaving the sharp stones behind. In my heart, a decision had crystallized. The drive home was silent. Master stared straight ahead, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Chloe was purring on his lap, content. Lily was asleep in the back seat, her tiny body curled up. I lay in the cargo area, my wounds throbbing. When we arrived, Master didn't open the back door. He carried Chloe and Lily inside, leaving me in the car. The sun was setting, and the temperature was dropping. I waited. Minutes turned into an hour. He never came back. I pushed the door open with my nose. It wasn't locked. I jumped down and limped to the back of the yard. I knew what I had to do. I went to the far corner, where the wooden fence met the stone wall. I began to dig. The earth was hard, packed with clay and pebbles. My front paws, already sore, scraped at the dirt. I dug with a frenzy that surprised even me. The hole grew deeper, wider. I gnawed at the bottom of the fence, splintering the wood with my teeth. The moon rose. The stars came out. I could hear Chloe and Lily inside, meowing for their dinner. I could hear Master's footsteps on the floorboards. None of it mattered anymore. With a final, desperate push, I squeezed through the gap. The rough wood scraped my sides. A large splinter lodged itself in my shoulder, and I felt a searing pain. But I didn't stop. I wriggled and twisted until I was through. I was on the other side. I was free. I stood in the alley, panting, my legs shaking. The world beyond the fence was immense and terrifying. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have a plan. All I knew was that I could no longer stay in that house, in that cage of guilt and pain. I limped down the alley, my footsteps echoing in the quiet night. The streetlights cast long shadows. I passed garbage cans, sleeping cars, houses with warm, glowing windows. I smelled other dogs, other cats, other lives. I was a stranger in a strange land. I walked for hours. My legs grew heavy. My shoulder throbbed. The splinter was digging deeper, and I could feel blood matting my fur. I collapsed under a bush in a small park, too exhausted to go on. I curled up, my nose tucked under my tail, and tried to sleep. But sleep wouldn't come. The memories did. I remembered the day Master first brought Justin and me home. We were tiny, clumsy pups, tumbling over each other. Master laughed and called us his two little soldiers. He gave us matching blue collars. He let us sleep on his bed. He took us to the lake, where we swam for the first time. Justin was fearless, plunging into the water without hesitation. I was afraid, but Justin came back and nudged me, encouraging me to follow. I trusted him. I remembered the day Justin was hit by a car. We were chasing a squirrel across the street. A car came out of nowhere. I was frozen again, just like with the Mastiff. Justin saw the danger and shoved me out of the way with his shoulder. He took the impact. He was thrown into the gutter, his body broken. He survived that. But the Mastiff later finished what the car started. I remembered the last look in Justin's eyes. He wasn't afraid. He was at peace. He knew he had done his duty. He knew I would protect his family. But I had failed. I had let Chloe and Lily destroy me. I had let them turn my love into a weapon against myself. I whimpered under the bush, tears streaming down my muzzle. I was alone, wounded, and lost. But even in my despair, I felt a strange lightness. The weight of 7 years was finally lifting. I was no longer bound by a promise that had become a curse. The next morning, I was found by a woman walking her dog. She was middle-aged, with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Her dog was a small terrier, who sniffed me cautiously. The woman knelt beside me, gasping when she saw the splinter in my shoulder, the scratches on my face, the cuts on my legs. "Oh, you poor thing," she whispered. "What happened to you?" I couldn't answer. I just lay there, too weak to move. She called an animal rescue. They came with a van and a stretcher. They lifted me carefully, taking me to a clinic. The vet, a young woman with a calm demeanor, cleaned my wounds, removed the splinter, and treated the infection. She gave me fluids and painkillers. She scanned for a microchip. "He's registered," she told the rescue worker. "I'll contact the owner." My heart sank. I knew Master would come. He would take me back to that house, back to Chloe and Lily, back to the poison and the gravel. I was too weak to run, too broken to fight. But when Master arrived, he didn't look angry. He looked devastated. His eyes were red-rimmed, his face haggard. He knelt beside my recovery cage, his hand trembling as he stroked my head. "Julian," he whispered, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't see." He had found the evidence. Chloe, in her greed, had become careless. She had hidden the pills in her cat bed, and Lily had brought them out to play. Master had discovered them when he was cleaning the house. He had put the pieces together. The 3 times I had been sick, the way Chloe always hissed at me, the way Lily's smile never reached her eyes. He confronted Chloe that night. I don't know what was said, but he came home with a new determination. He moved Chloe and Lily to a separate room. He forbade them from coming near me. He cleaned my water bowl with soap, filled it with fresh, clean water, and placed it inside the house, not on the porch, but in the living room next to his armchair. I was allowed inside. For the first time in 7 years, I stepped through the door into the warmth of the home. My paws touched the carpet, soft and luxurious. I smelled the faint scent of Master's cologne, the lingering aroma of his cooking. I looked around, disoriented, afraid that Chloe would appear and hiss me away. But she didn't. She was confined to the bedroom. I heard her yowling in protest, but Master ignored her. He sat on the floor beside me, his back against the sofa, and he petted me for an hour without stopping. "You're safe now," he said. "I won't let them hurt you again." I didn't understand the human words, but I understood his tone. It was the tone of a protector, the tone Justin had once used with me. Master had finally taken the role Justin had intended for him. He had become the brave one. Days turned into weeks. My wounds healed, leaving scars that would never fade, not just on my body, but in my heart. Master gave me a soft, orthopedic bed, the kind that old dogs loved. He placed it in the sunniest corner of the living room. I slept there every night, deep and untroubled, for the first time in years. He also changed the way he treated Chloe and Lily. He still fed them, still cared for them, but he no longer let them rule the house. He installed a baby gate to keep them in the bedroom during mealtimes, so I could eat in peace. When Chloe hissed at me, he shushed her firmly. When Lily tried to approach my bowl, he picked her up and moved her away. He was a new master, one who saw me as his own, not just a stand-in for Justin. One evening, I lay at his feet while he watched television. He reached down and rubbed my ears, a gentle, rhythmic motion that made my eyes close with contentment. He said, "You're a good dog, Julian. You always were. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." I wagged my tail, a slow, hesitant wag at first, then faster. I licked his hand. He laughed, a sound I hadn't heard in ages. It was the sound of forgiveness, of release. I still remembered Justin. I would always remember him. But the guilt no longer choked me. I understood, finally, that Justin's last wish was not a life sentence. It was a gift, a chance to protect a family. I had tried, and I had failed not because I was a coward, but because I was human. Or rather, because I was a dog who loved too deeply and trusted too blindly. Now, I was learning to trust again. Master took me to the park, the one where Justin and I used to play. I walked with a limp, my shoulder still stiff, but I was alive. I ran after a ball, clumsy but joyful. I barked at a squirrel, not out of fear, but out of sheer exuberance. I was free. A month after my escape, Master received a call. I heard Chloe's sharp, insistent voice on the other end of the line. She was demanding to be let out of the bedroom, demanding her cat tree back, demanding that I be thrown out. Master listened, his jaw tight. Then he spoke, his voice calm but firm. "No," he said. "You can't treat a member of the family like that. Julian has been here longer than you realize. He gave up everything for you. He starved himself so you could eat. He froze on the porch so you could be warm. He nearly died because you poisoned him. And I let it happen because I was too blind with grief to see the truth." He paused. "I'm not throwing him out. I'm not moving him back to the porch. If you can't live with him, then you'll have to adjust. But I will not let you hurt him ever again." There was a long silence on the other end. Then the line went dead. Master hung up the phone and looked at me. He didn't say anything. He just knelt down, hugged me, and buried his face in my fur. I felt his shoulders shake. Quiet sobs of relief, of regret, of hope. That night, Chloe and Lily were moved to a new room. Still inside the house, but separate from the living space. Master installed a cat door to the garden so they could come and go as they pleased, but he never again allowed them to roam freely while I was inside. He had drawn a line. I didn't hate Chloe or Lily. I couldn't. They were what they were. Cats, driven by instinct and fear. They had done terrible things, but they were also victims of the same tragedy that had claimed Justin. They had been grieving, just like Master and me. Their grief had turned to cruelty. Mine had turned to submission. In the end, we were all broken. But I was learning to heal, and that was enough. Summer came, and with it, warm sunlight and long walks. Master took me to the lake every weekend. I splashed in the shallow water, chasing sticks, feeling the mud squish between my paws. I was older now, graying around the muzzle, but my spirit felt young again. One afternoon, we were walking along the lakeshore when I saw a small, lost kitten. A tiny black dot and white thing, shivering under a bush. It mewed piteously. Master knelt down and coaxed it out. It was frightened, starving, alone. I looked at that kitten, and I saw myself. I saw the fear, the desperation, the need for warmth and love. I approached slowly, my tail wagging gently. I lowered my head and sniffed the kitten. It flinched, but then it looked into my eyes. I saw recognition there. The understanding that we were the same. Master picked up the kitten and said, "Looks like we have a new family member." I agreed. That night, the kitten whom Master named Hope slept in the empty cat bed next to mine. I watched over her as she slept, her tiny body rising and falling with each breath. I felt a warmth spread through my chest. It wasn't guilt or duty. It was love. Justin's face flashed in my mind. But this time, I didn't feel sorrow. I felt pride. I had carried his legacy for 7 years, and I had finally laid it down. I was no longer living in his shadow. I was living my own life. I lay my head on my paws and closed my eyes. The wind whispered through the open window, carrying the scent of flowers and grass. The moon hung low, soft and golden. I was safe. I was home. And for the first time in my life, I slept without a single dream of the grave.